Okay, Chris, you all set?
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting, Tuesday, April 21st. We're going to open up with the first thing on our agenda is a discussion on Whetstone Street. This is something that this board felt that we need to get some other boards and committees in to have a discussion. There's a few things I want to say about this before we get started, though. And this is I just want to get everybody on the right page of where we are, because everything's been milling around, you know, and gossip and stuff like that. So I want to get us on the right schedule, on the right sense of mind. And we're going to have a very strict discussion with the boards and committees and some taxpayers in town. This is going to be a discussion with the Board of Selectmen. And I just want to say a few things. The purpose this is going to be a meeting that I want to get a better line of communication. I think this board needs a better line of communication with the boards and committees in town. It's understood that each board and department and their representatives have different mandates, budgets, staffing, and so forth and so on. So that's another reason why I would like to talk, so we kind of get on all the same page. I want to stress this right now. Cottage advisories is not the issue. The issue is how the town monitors the current and future projects. I want to learn from this tonight, be able to implement things that we've learned in the future. Hopefully this is this discussion that we can implement things down the road for current projects and for ones in the future. The best interest of the town and its residents is going to be the priority, and I hope it is when we're going through this tonight. Do you have anything, Joe or Archie, you'd like to say, or would you like to just get me started? I just wanted to make sure that we have a good understanding of what this is going to be tonight.
I think it's a good summary. It's fine.
That's good. That's good, yeah.
Okay, so one thing that I would like, how I would like to conduct this tonight is that at the end of this meeting, I think we need to understand there's jurisdictions of the boards that are in play here, and we'll use the project going down on Whetstone Street and the oversight that's happening and how we can make that better and how we can make it better in a more timely manner, if that's even proper English, but I think everybody understands what we're talking about. So I would like to start, if there are any abutters here that want to we're not pointing fingers tonight. What we want to make sure we do is more or less use you as a resource and keep it brief and keep it precise, and if you're going to start being accusatory to any individuals, I'm going to shut you off. I'm going to tell you that right off the bat. So if there's anybody here, I think all the board can say that we're pretty up to speed on this. We've done our homework on this at length. We've all walked the site. We've all been down there. We've talked to people. So if you feel like you don't need to speak, that we don't know something, you know, that you want to bring up to us, I think we're pretty versed on the situation down there. So if there's anybody now that would like to say anything, I would like you to come up to the microphone or bring the microphone to, you know, your seat if you feel uncomfortable about that, and talk. Then we're going to proceed to the boards and the committees after that and ask them how or if they have any ideas, how we can make this more communicable and, you know, a better situation for the abutters and for the town. And if you could state your name.
Yes. Can I speak here?
You could, but you need a microphone, please. And the microphone's not for the room, it's for at home, so you don't have to, if you don't hear you.
Is it turned on?
My name's Doris Bailey-Jones. I live on 274 Main Street.
And it's got to be up to your mouth for people to hear. Sorry there.
Okay.
We'll get phone calls.
All right.
People do watch. I don't understand. They do.
All right. Very good. My concern is, after attending many planning board meetings for this development, that there seems to have been a disconnect between what we, the abutters, expected this development to present as and what we're seeing actually being built. Most of us felt like this was going to be a really low-key, tucked-in little cottage development. That said, with all the 30 that were planned to be built, it's just much more, I guess, in your face than we were expecting it to be. We saw artist renderings that depicted little roof lines, ridge lines being seen from our approximately about 3 feet elevation from our properties, and that's what we're expecting to see, and not full 2-story buildings from the foundation up from our properties. So
I think I can speak to that. Nothing has changed from those initial plans that have come forth. So it's not like they presented something to the planning board, it was approved, and something else is being built out there. What was approved and what went through the public process, so to speak, is what is being built out there. I have to say that.
Well,
nothing has, you know what I mean by that? So
yes, I do, absolutely.
Maybe it was a misconception because sometimes you don't visualize it as much as, I have a problem with doing that myself. When you're doing something, you really don't understand the scope of it until you see it. But nothing has changed. So that's, I don't mean to cut you up, but we're not talking about that because they've actually done what they were supposed to do.
Well, and this is one of the things that I wanted to know for sure.
Okay.
I mean, is what's being built, what was presented, what was approved by the planning board? Because it definitely does not appear that that's based on what was presented to the public in artist renderings. This is not what it appears to be. And I'm not the only abutter that feels this. I think pretty much everyone feels that this is not what they were expecting to see. So that's my complaint. I mean, what's there is done.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe the initial ones, that if you went to a meeting, but if you went to all the meetings, this is not, what's there is no surprise. It might be a surprise because it's there now. It's in real life rather than on a drawing. But I can have a planning board person speak on that behalf.
I went to many planning board meetings. I looked at the plans myself. I guess what I'm feeling is that the artist renderings that were shown to us, appeared to be very much less visible, more tucked down into the valley. And if it seems like the artist renderings that we were presented couldn't possibly have correlated with the plans that were submitted.
Okay, I think I have your point.
Okay.
So let's, and I'm not trying to cut you off,
Yeah,
but I
no,
think I have your point.
Yep.
So let's try to get some type of answer or some type of discussion about it. Is there one that Joe, did you want to?
Well, Brian or Rick, can you answer that, perhaps?
To my knowledge, and I think the board's knowledge, there's been no change in the plan. I do think from what they had initially presented, it's being built. Something gets built where you expected something, looking at a small perspective, it can have a different appearance. And maybe that sounds simplistic, but that's the best I can offer.
Glenn?
Yeah.
I could speak to that also.
Could you use a microphone, please?
Sure.
And please, some people might not know who everybody is.
Sure. John Sarkis from the Planning Board also. I remember distinctly that artist renderings were submitted, were prepared, generated by the applicant and submitted to the Planning Board, not as part of a formal submittal, but they appeared to be very conceptual in nature, depicting the applicant's or the architect's thought of what the premises might look like. I don't believe the artist renderings were generated, for example, after a formal engineering plan was prepared. They didn't appear to be that representative of the actual application. They appeared to be very conceptual in nature. I do believe, however, that the woman who has spoken is referring to certain supplemental data that may have been submitted to the board and used as graphical representations of sight lines. I'm guessing that it's my opinion that the graphical representations were very accurate, but don't convey the entire site in real life. It's a two-dimensional drawing and can't convey the actual sense of everything you see when standing there. So I don't suspect that the material submitted by the applicant was in any way misleading or false, but not the only element that someone would use to get a sense of what the applicant has proposed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGrath, did you have something to say on this?
Yes. John
Microphone,
McGrath.
please.
I'd like to comment on the tone of the meeting when Doris made her comments. I thought that one member of the board immediately was quite assuredly told her that a conception was wrong. And I didn't see the politeness in that. When the public and the butters go to meetings such as this, it's a long process. It was almost 2 years before the planning board. I went to some 15 meetings. I didn't continue on long enough to get down into the final architectural details. I had a lot of confidence in the perception that Doris had that was where it's going. So just how much due diligence does a homeowner or an abutter in this case have to do? Do they have to be at every meeting all the time as things develop? Yes, those are conceptuals, but that concept was part of what drove the project step by step by step through. So to say that what they built was according to the plans, that may, I don't know the timeline, but that may have been a year and a half after the initial time. And a person like Doris and myself finally says, well, we got a sense of the scope of it. We won't need to go to every meeting. So I'm not sure it's quite that clean an issue as yourself and John and maybe others would say. I understand technically and legally they're probably building what was finally approved. But I think there's another angle to that as relates to the townspeople.
If he's making reference that I said you were wrong, I don't know where that came from, but I wasn't saying that you were wrong. I don't think that you thought that. I hope not. Thank you. No, she didn't. So I didn't think I said that because I don't want to start off that way. But I'm not sure. I mean, you kind of not threw me a curveball because I want to hear the abutters, but we're here more because we're getting complaints on what we can take care of at this point is more of the management of the site.
Today's issues.
Huh?
Today's issues.
Today's issues, and I empathize with you, and I don't know if I can say I'm sorry, but that's something we can learn from, and that if something is presented to the town again, that we have to make it very, very clear. These are very conceptual drawings, and this might not be the end. And you know what I mean? Because I guess to Mr. McGrath, you go to the first meeting and you say, okay, yeah, it's not going to be so bad. I'm going to be able to still see I'm still going to be able to see the river. So you go, okay, no, you know what I mean? But you don't understand. It's not going to be so bad, and then you don't go anymore. You say, I understand progress, but at least I'm going to see the river. Then when it happens, I don't see the river. You know what I mean? So that's something we can learn from. So when somebody first comes into an initial thing and everybody's there, hey, this is just a conceptual thing. This isn't going to be ended. We'll make sure if you're going to show drawings of conceptions, we're going to make sure you see drawings of actuals.
Well, and again, my feeling is
Microphone, please. Sorry.
I just want to make sure for future purposes, I understand that what's done is done here, and what's being developed is apparently being developed according to plan, and that's fine. But that was my concern. I almost felt like I'd been hoodwinked. That's how different my perception of what is being built is compared to what I thought was going to be built. And I went to many planning board meetings, not just a couple. So I just wanted to make sure going forward that this doesn't happen to someone else.
Okay.
That's all.
Thank you. One thing I do want to get on is the actual management of the site. The management of the site, and somebody please correct me, is down to the Planning Board, the Board of Health, and the Conservation Commission. And some parts, the Selectmen of the public roadway, so forth and so on, the street opening permit. So I would actually like to have a discussion right now how we can make it easier to disseminate information faster. One thing that I heard today that, that makes me a little bit nervous is that this is all going to be done potentially by the fall. And that means there's going to be a lot of things going down there and in a fast period of time. So I wanted to make sure that the boards realize that you have our support, that if you need more resources or something like that, that we can understand that. And I think it's very important also that we all understand who is responsible for what, because I don't think anybody does. If an abutter has a question, maybe we need a central call center, then that gets disseminated to the proper people. Because everybody's getting phone calls on this. And it seems that we're spending time finding out who's responsible for something rather than taking care of the issue in a timely manner for the abutters and for the town. So I understand, Brian, that we have Meridian that's working as the engineer that's overseeing things for the town. Can you speak on that a little bit for us, and just to give everybody a little up to date and what actually that process is, and if maybe we can fix it a little bit more, I think, or maybe expand it if it's possible?
So do you mind if I stand?
No, you can do whatever you like to do.
Thank you. Yes, I'll speak a little bit to that. And we also have Charlie Weir, Vice President of Meridian, with us tonight, and I think he'd be available to add some insight as well. We've used Meridian as quote, the town engineer for a number of years, probably 6 to 7 years, more like 10. Okay, thank you. Time does fly. They're tasked with elements in our decision, which are basically is the developer following the guidelines that are written in the decision as they pertain to drainage and elements of work and a variety of specific site conditions at these projects. Most of the decisions require that the developer call ahead for an inspection. He's doing a trench, and we want to make sure that the trench is backfilled properly and whatnot. When the job is happening as quickly as this, they're on site much more frequently, and in fact, perhaps almost on a daily basis. And I think that's part of the communication aspect that is what probably we should be looking to improve tonight. How does that information get disseminated on a timely basis? Their engineers go back and write a report, and it may take a week to get up here. And that has to improve on a daily or the next day basis. And we've talked about that. So,
because, I mean, a week, I mean, that would be, it could happen on a site like that in a week.
Correct.
It could be so old news that we're always playing catch up.
correct. So I think that's going to change. We've learned some things on this site. It's a challenging site.
Correct.
Just to begin with.
A lot going on.
It's a lot going on. It's a hillside. There's more of a typical challenge than a flat development site. When we did Ocean Meadow, wide open space, much slower pace of construction. What we're seeing here is much more aggressive. And I don't think it's necessarily the fault of any departments and whatnot, but it's time that we decided how to best improve that level of communication between the departments, so that Concom, Board of Health, the Water Department, even the building inspector, all get wrapped together on a very timely basis.
Even I would like to have the selectmen do that, if it's all right with you guys. Because, just to give you an example about communication, that I think should be, you know, a lot better, is when you go for a blasting permit to the fire department, and it's given, and, you know, everything was above board and blasting, but none of the abutters or anyone knew that it was blasting. I knew because the fire chief texted me and said, hey, if you get any phone calls today, we gave a blasting, you know, just as a heads up for me. And I was quite naive because I thought everyone knew. You know what I mean? And no one knew. I mean, just that type of communication means a lot to everyone.
Yeah, clearly, you're absolutely right. And to some degree, and I'm not...
Because certain things in a blasting permit about pre-inspections of people's foundation, you know, there's a lot of things that make a lot of people
usually people will give a bit more of an advance notice. And I understand that, you know, there was a rush, and I'm sure the developer would say he wishes things had been done differently in that regard as well.
But everything's a rush, because we have to slow it down and make sure it's done properly, and it's done, you know, in a way that we can manage it properly also.
Yes. Yeah.
Sure, John.
Rick Bridges from the Planning Board. I think one thing that we could take away from tonight is maybe looking at the protocols for the blasting permits and try to insert a delay, maybe a 3-day period from the time the application is put through until which the permit might be exercised, and notification to all of the boards and committees that have any kind of oversight over the development. I think that communication we could put together rather quickly.
Okay. One thing on the communication aspect that I found a little bit troubling to me when I tried to start researching things, I think we need everything in writing. So if hypothetically the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, or even Meridian or whomever goes down there, goes down to any site and says, hey, listen, this is not right. I need this fixed within immediately because it's a serious thing, or I need it fixed within a couple of days. I think, or the building inspector. I forgot about you, Glenn, sorry. I think all those type of communications need to be in writing going forward, because you need a trail. You need someplace, a beginning and an end, and how we got there. And that only helps the town. I can't stress that enough, that every single thing needs to be documented.
Plus, there's no misunderstanding 2 days later.
Exactly.
No, you're absolutely correct. And I think that's, we're seeing here that this, because of the pace of the project, and ultimately I think it's probably a good thing that if he's able to be selling units, it probably is a good for the town. But that people need to be more aware, and perhaps there won't be any, you know, significant issues in the future, but that the speed, it has not been there as much as it should be for a project moving at this pace. Would you like to hear from Charlie, just to comment on engineering review aspects?
Yeah, just 1 second. Did you
Sure.
have a comment, Mr. McGrath, on something that's been said before we, that has been said before we move on to something else?
No, I don't want to move on. I want to elaborate on something you said.
Okay, yeah, please do. We have somebody else.
I've heard the comment about the tough terrain from any number of people, widely spread responsibilities. But not to be sarcastic, but the hill and the rock under there has been there for tens of thousands of years. The developer bought that. He must have done his engineering to determine what was there and knew the grade. So I don't think that that's a mystery and can be used as some sort of alleviating view that we should have now on the difficulties. In regard to the Meridian inspection, in the special provisions of the conditions, the board's consulting engineer shall inspect all roadway infrastructure and drainage improvements required by the plan. Well, that's a very superficial description, and I would, when we hear from the engineer, I would like to hear some of the details that the planning board has tasked them to within those 3 categories.
Yep, that was my plan. I had spoke to Mike McCarron about that. I have the same document that you have. And I would like a definition of those, because when I spoke to Mike, I tried to get some better understanding on those. They're too broad for me to understand. So, and then I was going further. I understand what you've been doing, and I was wondering, under this scope, if we can increase it in some way under this scope to be able to have even more oversight. That's where I was going to go. You were up next.
Good evening. The one thing I would like to address is we, as Brian mentioned, we've been doing peer review and inspections for the town for close to 10 years now. We've got in the habit of, as Brian mentioned, of doing inspections and then turning the inspections in at the end of the week. That has always worked. Obviously, that's not working on this one. So we've since, in the last few weeks, started giving daily reports. So we go back to the office, we write the report, and we send it into the planning board immediately. So we have made that change in response to this. The primary inspections we do is it mentions it in very broad brush there, but it's the most detailed inspections we do are of the drainage facilities, because they're underground. Nobody can see them when they're done if it's underground piping. So we're there almost constantly when there's trenching being done. When you trench, we make sure the bedding of the pipe is correct. We make sure that the backfill is properly compacted. We're there for almost all of that. During we're doing rough grading of the site, we'll stop in probably once a day during just rough grading of a project. Once it's rough graded, usually we're looking at then, either if they're doing utilities, the only utility we really look at is drainage, because the sewer gets looked at by the Board of Health. The water department inspects the water utilities, and the private utilities such as gas or electric or telephone are all inspected by individual utility companies. So the only inspections we do of utilities are the drainage. We then inspect, like I mentioned, the rough grading, and then the finish grading is the placement of the gravel. We make sure that that is the right material. We make sure that it's properly placed and compacted, and we're there for the paving of the roadways. We're also there for we check in when they're placing loam and seed, and making sure that that's properly done as well. But I could go through this list a little bit more, but that's there is a more defined list. There's a reference to a Form L in the decision, and the Form L actually gives a more detailed breakdown of what our inspections are, and it covers such things as, is the grass plots and sidewalks and curbing and things, all of which we check in on during the construction. We're not, for example, if they're grading a detention pond, we don't stand there and watch it 8 hours a day. We'll go in the morning, see them getting started on it, stop back at the end of the day and see what type of progress they made. Things that can be visually seen from the surface, we won't inspect 8 hours a day. Things that are backfilled, compaction, we stay there for those types of things to make sure that's done correctly.
So after a detention, when you see a detention pond finished or whatever, and you see 4 or 5 feet of standing water in it, or 2 feet of standing water in it, you just say the detention pond works. You might not, in your report, saying that there's a detention pond here that has water in it that could be hazardous to somebody who went on the site and drowned, that it's not, you know what I mean by that? I mean, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
So if you see, when you say drainage and you see slopes and so forth and so on, so if you see a slope that's, after it's rained, it's all washed out, I mean, do you put that into your?
Yeah, we'll put that into a report. Generally speaking, the sedimentation erosion control, we do report on it, but it's not directly our responsibility. That is, it falls more in the and we certainly mention it if we see a problem. It's interesting.
Can you finish that sentence? You said it falls in
the Conservation Commission. Sorry, not that we don't turn a blind eye to it. We certainly review erosion control if we see something that we think is a problem. But I wanted to back up a little bit, and our scope, we are inspectors. We're not directors. The word oversee is maybe is a misconception. We have no authority to direct the contractor to do anything. We can only report if we think the contractor is doing something wrong. If we think the contractor is doing something wrong, we tell them. If they, in this case, in almost every case in town, a contractor will take steps to correct what we believe they're doing wrong.
You,
But if,
you do that verbally at the time of the event, or do you do it at Friday afternoon?
no, we
does
do
that
it
take
verbally at the time of the event. For example, on this project, the very first day of the project, our inspector wasn't happy with the way that the drainage was being bedded and compacted, and he immediately told him, "This is, you need to go get a vibratory compactor and do this correctly." So, and they did. They responded to it. They did it correctly. My point is at that moment, we are inspectors. We are not directors. We can't tell. In fact, we don't even know, for example, if a utility is going in the right location. We're at the contractor hires a surveyor who puts stakes in the ground. We assume that surveyor is knows what they're doing, is they're correct. It's not until the end of the project, when an as-built survey is done, that all gets confirmed as being correct. In this case, they've already issued a preliminary as-built survey, and everything appears to be correct that's been done so far. But we're there to really see that the materials and the methods that are used are correct and in conformance with the planning board's regulations. We also, it's important that the contractor work with us. The contractor could tell us, "Yeah, we're not going to pay attention to what you say," and then we would have to write a report to the planning board, who does have the authority to say, "Okay, we'll pull this pipe out and replace it." Also, that information ends up at the Conservation Commission, and the Conservation Commission has different authority than I do or the Planning Board does. So, as you mentioned, it's a complicated web of people that are out there looking at the project.
Say the grade is 10% and it's supposed to be 5%, and but the project isn't at completion, but it's going to until it's going to be that way for 2 months until something else gets done to put it back to 5, and it's at 10 now.
Yeah.
So who's and so it's causing additional runoff or something to that effect.
Sure.
Whose problem is that?
Well, it depends. I mean, I think that one of our site inspectors would look at a situation and determine whether or not they think it's going to lead to a problem. And if they think it's going to be a problem, they'll have a discussion with the site contractor and say, "Hey, listen, I think that's way too steep and it's going to wash out, and I think you should take care of it." And if he says, "No, I think it's fine," then we would send that up the ladder to the, we would put it in a report that the contractor wasn't responsive to a recommendation we made, and that would end up back in front of the planning board and in front of the commission.
So that might be
A week later.
10
No,
days
right
later.
now it would be the next day.
Oh, okay.
So
They admitted that they're going to start doing them daily rather than weekly.
we've actually already instituted that over the last week and a half
Yeah,
or so.
like Brian mentioned.
In this case, I mean, the contractor has been responsive to our. The contractor has said to us once on this project, "No, we're not going to do what you tell us to do." And again, what we're doing is making recommendations. The contractor is ultimately responsible for the work. We're not directors; we're inspectors. Although we certainly carry
You are to
weight.
expect to make sure that they build it according to the plan that the planning board had voted.
Well, yes, up to a point. I mean, like I said, we look at the bedding, for example. The bedding of the pipe is probably the easiest one to explain, or the compaction of the roadway. We certainly look at, the gravel material. We get a report on the gravel material that's used from a geotechnical company that shows that they're using the correct gravel, and then we'll be on site to make sure that we believe it's properly compacted. There's actually a compaction test that gets done as well. In the case of a drain line, we look and see that they're using the right type of stone and that the backfilling is occurring in accordance and that compaction is correct. So we're inspecting that. But for example, the elevation of a pipe or the elevation of the roadway, we're not out there confirming that in that moment. So, but it does get confirmed by they have a land surveyor on the site. The contractor has a land surveyor on the site at all times, not all times, but they lay out all the roadways and the utilities, and we assume that those elevations and roadways are correct. At the end, there's a survey that's done that confirms that, again by the contractor. So when, if there's for example, a stockpile that is in the middle of the site, we don't know if that's exactly in the spot that a stockpile was shown. And this is true of every project that goes through. This isn't just specific to this project.
Okay. Do you have any questions of this gentleman?
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay.
On going to the Board of Health or the Conservation Commission, is there how on inspections, on compliance, I want to get an understanding of if you guys need more help, if you need more resources. I understand this is a complex site. I keep on being told because it's in a small thing and it's moving very fast. I understand that we've all had some stuff that you guys have addressed. Is there anything you guys want to add to this?
Well, as far as conservation goes,
You need to use the microphone, please. And you state your name just in case people don't know who you are.
I am Jay Smith, the conservation agent. And as far as inspections gone, between Paul and myself, we go out on almost a daily basis since snow has gone off of the site. When the snow is on the site, of course, most everything is stable, so it really doesn't need the silt fence is under the snow, and so it doesn't need a lot of inspections in the wintertime. But as soon as the spring came, we were out there on the site all the time, and responded to anybody that called up our office at any issues. I thank Mr. McGrath he had one issue involving the silt fence that it wasn't actually getting into the wetlands, but there was a little water building up. So I'd already addressed it actually that same morning that he got in touch with me and wanted to come into the Conservation Commission meeting. I'd already previously taken pictures of it before he'd even...
I'd rather not talk about specific things, maybe just conceptual, do you know what I mean?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, the site they've been doing what we've asked them to do, and it's hard. For example, they'll put a pile of dirt, and in one day, they can pile up a pile of dirt in a spot that they really shouldn't be putting it in, for example. We got to go down there, we got to tell them, you can't put the pile of dirt there, you got to move it, or you got to move it away from the wetlands.
Mm-hmm. So do you think better educating them by the Conservation Commission, because they shouldn't be putting that pile of dirt there to begin with? So, I mean, how do we, I'm looking to prevent things rather than react to things.
And I agree with you, but I don't know exactly how they get an order of conditions, unless I explained to them that they have to read those order of conditions. The orders of conditions have to be on the site, and they're supposed to follow the conditions. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, unless I had a classroom or something and tried to go over it again with them, mm-hmm. I mean, they're experienced people, and they should be doing what we're telling them. But in every case, when they're out there doing their daily routine, things happen. We try to be right on top of things. For example, the dust problem. I mean, that not necessarily is a big problem for conservation, even though some dust does end up in the wetlands, but not very much. I concur with Paul about any kind of, he has a little bit more authority about the health issues that go with the dust problem. So he, mm-hmm. reinforces what we say, and we reinforce what he say. We talk every day between the planning board, conservation, and the health department about any issues that are out there. We discuss them, we go out, and we try to fix every problem that comes up. But it's just, if you can't get a contractor to, it's hard to tell them stuff ahead of time, and then if they just go ahead and do it, what do? You have to get out there, and you have to say, look, you got to fix this problem. Okay. And especially if it isn't in the wetlands, for example, if it hasn't actually gone into the wetlands, our authority, we can send out an enforcement order. We can stop the whole project and say, look, you can't do any more work until you fix this problem with an enforcement order. We'd rather go out there and say, look, fix the problem. Then if they don't fix it, then we can, take appropriate measures to to have them do it. But I'd rather work with them to get them to resolve their problems as soon as possible when we have issues. And that's what we do. And we've increased the amount of reporting. I've talked to their manager, Tom Chaussee, down there, and he, after every rain event and on a weekly basis, he now gives us a report. So not only do we go down there and check things, he gives his report, but and we don't even use, I mean, that's just a supplemental thing that we use for that. Same with Meridian. Meridian gives us reports, and they tell us what's going on down there. It's not the only thing we use. We go out and take a look at it ourselves, but we do use that as a tool to try to keep the site, you know, in compliance. You know, we don't want to go too far and turn around and have them want to sue us for stopping their project if it's only, you know, a minor issue there that we can resolve right off.
We're not looking to make things up or make things difficult for people.
No, and
we just want to try to you know, follow what we have.
That's what
you know what I mean?
You know, and
that's all I'm trying to do here is trying to facilitate a conversation and better communication. So the abutters, the townspeople can be on page, making sure that we have the resources in place. If anybody, departments and committees need more resources to make sure we can implement what's already on the books and not hassle anybody, but just make sure it's done right, so then everybody in the whole process is happy at the end of the day.
Great
That's
idea,
it.
and we're trying to do the same exact thing when we work with each department and trying to get these things resolved.
How big is the buffer zone? Is it 50 feet, 100 feet?
The buffer zone is 100 feet from resource area.
Okay. From a very uneducated casual observer, I'm a construction neophyte, so I'll misspeak. I mean, I look at the silt fence, that's the delineation line, right?
Yep.
I mean, I see water, like it shouldn't be up against that silt fence, should it?
The whole purpose of the silt fence and hay bales is to catch water, to allow some water to build up to it. You can't, I mean, in any site, the silt fence line is set off from the wetland line. So the whole idea of the silt fence line is it's twofold. One is a barrier to prevent silt from entering the wetland. So you're going to, in some instances, have some water building up in it. But when that happens, we try to address it. Like today, there's some water built up on a couple of spots. Tomorrow, we'll go out and ask them to put another line of silt fence in a couple areas and to address any silt that's built up behind the silt fence. So that's the whole idea of the silt fence, and it acts as a limit of work.
I mean, again, from an uneducated person, the two things that I observe of the whole site, so for everybody here, is a lot of water, not a lot of water, but water that, in my opinion, it looks like it shouldn't really be where it is, and dust, which obviously there were past dust issues over the winter because material was not covered that should have been covered over the winter, but just as recently as last week, there's dust flying all over the place. So I don't know if that falls under who that falls under.
That would fall under the Board of Health.
Oh.
And I think
and we do that. We also tried. I mean, we worked with Paul on this. I mean, they had to run the water line in there to get the water truck in there to work on the dust problem. You know, it's probably something they.
Well, we had a problem. I mean, I think we had a situation. I think Paul tried to be proactive about because I think he understood the weather conditions last week, and we had a dust problem, but the battery had died in the water truck. So
I think Sears sells batteries, don't they?
yeah. So we should have not done that. That would have been a day that we probably should not have done something until the battery would have. You know, we had the proper things in place to be able to do it. I think that's not too much to ask.
I was there that afternoon.
You were?
I was there, and I have to say the wind was doing 20, 25, and the dust was horrendous.
Yeah, so
I've
that's
been on
not.
site the same too.
So that's
I
not
agree
that's
with
not acceptable. So we have to make sure that we all are on the same page here, so we make sure this has happened. Do you, Mike and I had talked, because he gets, everybody's getting phone calls. Because I don't think anybody knows where to go, or whose responsibility, So, do you think it would help to have some type of 24-hour phone that could field all the questions and then disseminate those complaints and/or questions to the right people, so it happens in a timely manner? Because I understand some of our departments are part-time. That's another thing we have to deal with. I mean, which aren't your fault, but there are part-time. You have other inspections to do.
Yep.
Do you think that would be? You think that would try to alleviate some?
I think it would
some
help.
Stress off the abutters.
I mean, we've only actually got one complaint directly to the conservation, and I've just heard from other departments what other complaints were for this. Mr. McGrath talked about a legitimate complaint he had for water building up this hill fence that you were talking about.
But I think a lot of people people come to me as a selectman, I think, just because maybe I'm whatever, about complaints that aren't even under my purview. I try to send them, I get complaints about the housing authority. I get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we try to filter them to the right direction because the town doesn't know. So I'm looking for an avenue of making sure that we have, that the taxpayers have a place where they can call or email and so they understand that it will be put to the right people and it will be addressed immediately. And that's what, I'm not sure if it will work or not, but it was a suggestion that was made today to me when sitting around talking in the office.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think that you could also, I wouldn't mind fielding most of the calls that come in for it.
Yeah, but you're a part-time, so if something comes in, I'm not even sure your hours, but you're part-time. So it could come in and it might not even get back to somebody for a day or two, and not because you've been delinquent, just because of the nature of the office.
That's somewhat to that. But for
Yeah.
example, I wasn't working this afternoon. I get a call from Paul. We had a little issue out there that we wanted to talk about as far as the dust went. And I'm fielding the call in the afternoon, so it's not like I, don't respond to those things.
Is there a way that you guys think, the Board of Health and the Conservation Commission, that Meridian could help under the, you guys know how, because they're out there a lot, how Meridian could help facilitate some of these things? Now they're reporting on a daily basis. Do they, you know what I mean?
Yes. We don't actually get, I had no gripes about Meridian at all.
Oh, can you put that closer?
I'm sorry. We don't have any gripes from Meridian at all, but we have gotten, as far as reports go, we will get sometimes 3 reports we were getting, I think, on a weekly basis, get 3 reports in 1 week from previous 3 weeks on what was going on out there. So we're
that was a little too delayed. Correct. We have understood that.
Okay.
And the planning board in Meridian has realized that probably wouldn't work under these circumstances.
Yeah.
And they've rectified that, and they're going to give us daily reports now.
That would be great. And we also
but my question still stands that
Yes.
how can they help under their purview, do you think, or because we're not going to come up with some suggestions tonight. We're going to discuss this,
Yep.
and we're going to send out something after.
Yep.
This is more of an informational thing
Yep.
tonight, and then we can try to implement some type of plan on this. But I want people to go away tonight, at least, the abutters, the taxpayers,
Yep.
the people that were here. All of us are serving, every single one. We get $1 a year to do this. They're paying our salary. They're paying everybody's salary. So I want to make sure that that we walk away here tonight, at least, that they have a better understanding, that the town has a better control over this situation, and they know where to go if they have a question or they have a concern.
Well, if they have a quick question or concern, I think you're absolutely right that a 24-hour hotline might be a good thing to do. You talked about Meridian's giving us a report on a daily basis now.
Yep.
Is going to help us a lot. Well, like I say, we're out there a lot too, so we see what's going on as well.
Yep.
And we also have, for example, they're in the process of doing a constructed wetland now. So we have, in our conditions, Norse Environmental is now on the picture, checking that and giving us a report on a bi-weekly basis of what's going on with that constructed wetland. So we have additional stuff coming in, but I think it'd be a great idea if you wanted to have some sort of 24-hour hotline that you suggested. That could, for me anyway, I would know everything that's more things that are going on than when just people call. Because right now, I mean, I haven't gotten any, you guys have given me, asked me to come in and talk about it.
Yep.
But no one's actually come to me when something happened or when there was a phone call and say, Jay, we have an issue there, Are you on it? Or are you going to get on it? I mean, that hasn't happened. So.
I think there's been a lot of ignorance, and not ignorance in a bad way, of just who's responsible for what. I mean, we all assume, because we kind of deal with this, because we're on boards and committees, that we assume that everybody knows who to go to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
We assume that.
Yes.
But 9 out of 10 people in this town don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they calling the town clerk and wondering what, and he, or she, calling Chris Pyle, and we try to filter it all through.
Yeah. No, so I think it's a great idea to have a 24-hour.
Did you want, Paul, you don't have to speak. You and I spoke earlier today. I mean.
Paul Savigny, a health agent. I think it's a good idea to have a 24-hour contact. Maybe the selectman's number or email, and that way the selectman can disseminate it to who needs to be responded. The Board of Health's jurisdiction is the septic components, the dust, and the any odors that may come off site, which is trash. There was a dust issue last fall. We did address it. They were getting ready to put tops on, and the snow came, so that kind of that's how that ended up being such a problem. And the snow melted, and the wind, heavy winds on that site, created more of a problem. So I have talked to the the Cottage Advisors team and the contractor about the dust issue. A couple weeks ago, there seemed to be a little misunderstanding of whether the Board of Health had jurisdiction and control over the dust, and I did give them the citations that the Board of Health does have that control. So I think from tonight moving forward, I think there'll be a better dust control on site, and I don't expect to have any more issue with the dust or trash blowing around on site.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGrath?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're being very patient with me. This is about jurisdiction, and within, from the outsider's point of view, the town, the abutter or townsperson, and the plans and the details are extremely complex. I don't know if they're complex. There's a huge amount of caveats on the plans, the plan notes, especially on the construction plans. So it's very clear on the plans about stabilization of the site, by which it is referring to the soil stabilization. Now, I don't want to put Jay or Paul on the spot, but I guess I'm kind of going to do it, but it could fall under others. So if there's no dust blowing, I don't see how the Board of Health can then go out and say there's a dust problem. There isn't. But last fall, and granted Paul made an effort for sure, but last fall, as things were winding down, we probably had 5 acres of open soil. That's pretty clear if you read the construction notes and the temporary erosion controls and the permanent erosion controls, and I'll take dust-B erosion because it's wind erosion. There was never anything done. The entire, and I'm guessing at the 5 acres, but I'm certainly under rather than over. So some huge detail fell through, whether Meridian Planning Board, I don't think it falls under building inspector at all, but the 4 agencies with the planning board having Meridian as kind of the 5th one. Now that's a major thing that fell through the cracks.
Yep.
So how, going forward, do you make some really clear lines of jurisdiction and proactiveness when it's clearly detailed on the plans?
I think that's why we're here tonight. I said, that's why we're here. And I think people, as Paul and as Jay, have admitted that we have, not a complicated, but a situation that needs to have more attention, that Meridian has realized that we need to have, I think we're there. We just have to make sure we implement what everybody's saying here tonight. And I think that with an understanding now of Paul, of Jay, of the planning board, and their conditions of what Meridian needs to do out there, that's how it's going to be dealt with. I mean, it's easier to say what happened, and if it did or it didn't, and it did. You're saying it did, but I'm trying to move beyond that. And if I want to, if nothing else, we want to. You leave here with an understanding of who's responsible for what. So if somebody does call that phone call, make that phone call, then we'll be able to give that person that information so then they can rectify it. I mean, you're talking about something that happened in the past. I mean, I think Paul had just spoke to that just before you got up, and he said that now there is an understanding with the contractor who is responsible for that, and they're going to make sure they implement that. Correct, Paul? Correct. I mean, I don't know what you want from me. I understand certain things weren't done the way they were supposed to. But I'm going to, one thing I am going to say, because I want to make sure that if I'm going to say things like that, I have to say it's a lot better than it used to be. I have to say that also. I mean, so it was at a point, and the site has made improvements. I have, if I'm going to say certain things, I have to give people credit when that credit is due. Do I believe that it needs to be even up higher to meet a higher threshold? Yes, I do. And that's what this meeting is here tonight, and that's what I'm trying to do, is try to get everybody together. Glenn, one thing that I want to speak about the responsibilities of safety. So I understand that you wear two hats. You're the chief zoning officer, and you enforce the zoning laws and so forth and so on. And you're the building inspector, zoning enforcer. So, like, hypothetically, if a site has standing water that's not protected of X amount of feet, if a hillside is taken off to do work on it but left overnight or 2 days on an abutter's thing, and it's a dangerous drop that shouldn't be there and it's not graded, who is it? Who does that fall under? Because that's the only really, I think, gray area that I still have of the responsibilities that the different boards and committees have.
As far as the grading,
Glenn Closely, building inspector.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Glenn Closely, building inspector. Mm-hmm. As far as grading and that type of thing,
grading, but you know what I mean.
There was a cut made where they were putting a trench right at the bottom of the cut. Mm-hmm. There was probably maybe 30 inches of loam on top of the ledge. They put their trench boxes in. There was, I got a phone call. I went over there and checked it out. I made a phone call. It was addressed immediately. It was addressed at like 7 o'clock the next morning. One thing that I can say about this is that
you would be the person responsible. That's what I'm trying to find out.
Only because we issued a trench permit, and so there's a few people in town that have authority over the trenches. I'm one of them. Paul was another one that was that can issue a trench permit. Mike Gute can also issue a trench permit. Fire department is also involved because they're the ones that would ultimately, if a trench collapsed on somebody, they're going to be the rescue. Mm-hmm. So they're also involved in that. Mm-hmm. As far as if there's standing water on the site, nothing I can do about that. I have no authority over that. It's not any different than somebody walking down a mill pond. That's open water. So if somebody's going to walk into open water and drown, then I mean there just isn't. What do you do? Put a fence up around it? I don't know the answer, but I don't know the answer to that, Glenn. All right,
people are asking me, so I just want to know.
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
if it is what it is, then it is what it is. But I just want to know what that is. You know what I mean?
We'll confirm it. It is what it is.
Okay.
If it's a constructed wetland or a detention pond, mm-hmm. then you would expect water to be in it. Now, as far as I know, there's nothing that says that they have to fence it. That, as far as I know anyway, That's not in any regulations.
Okay.
And certainly, and I don't believe was in the planning board conditions. So.
Okay. I just didn't know, and that's
Yeah.
what we're here for.
Yeah, but I mean, when you do the analogy, it's not any different than any other pond. I mean, I have authority over swimming pools. So if it's 24 inches deep and it's in your backyard and it's a actual swimming pool, then I have authority over it. But as far as a constructed wetland or something like that, Glenn, I just don't have it.
So you had the authority over the dig, the cutaway.
Only as it relates to the trench at the bottom of that.
So who would, the planning board then?
See, certain things like that need to be happening immediately because, quite honestly, that was on an abutters thing. It was a cutaway.
Right.
It turned into a dangerous situation.
Right.
That abutter has small children. It doesn't matter if he had small children or not, or she had small
Right.
children. That's not the thing, but in this case it did. And within, yes, in immediate, it happened at 7 o'clock in the morning, the next day, which is great. It was addressed. But in that time, somebody could have been severely hurt.
The only thing I can say to that is, and I know that this, I don't know a better way to say this, but if people are going, it's a construction site.
I
if
agree.
people are going to let their kids run free around a construction site, then they have to expect, there's got to be expectations that it's dangerous, because there's things all over a construction site on a daily basis, no matter how careful you are, that are dangerous. So if people are going to let their kids run around on a construction site, then
I have to disagree with that, because see, I agree with everything you said up until that point, and I do agree that a construction site would be dangerous. But if a situation was warranted, that you found that it needed to be taken care of because it was dangerous, and it was on a butter's thing, I don't think we can just go, it's dangerous and it's the people's fault.
And I'm not saying that I wouldn't address it, Glenn. I'm not saying that I wouldn't address it. What I'm saying is that it is a construction site, and there's going to be things all over that construction site. That hill that you're talking about, that cliff, isn't any more dangerous than if a kid went over there and started climbing around on the construction equipment. There are certain things that was addressed, but
I understand the analogy,
okay,
but I don't think it applies in this case. I understand that, because it was something that happened that needed to be addressed. Having a piece of equipment in the middle of a field is something that would not need to be addressed, because that would be a properly thing done by the construction people. You know what I mean? Having an open a foundation or something like that, that is something, you know, I think is regular course of business, that you would not have to make them address. But something that you felt that you needed to have addressed is something totally different than the analogies that you're giving us.
Under the trenching regulations, that's part of OSHA regulations, and there are grading issues with you know, what you're supposed to put the slope, you know, what the slope is supposed to be at. It's not supposed to come over and just have a drop like that.
Yep.
Granted, that's
I'm just
that is exactly what happened, and again,
and it was addressed, and it was
you're
taken
right.
care of,
I addressed it, and it was
in a
immediately
timely
taken care
manner,
of.
in your timely
Yes.
manner. But I'm just saying, you know, something could have happened because it wasn't done properly, and it was left unattended. And I would assume that OSHA would have had a problem with that, because it didn't follow.
Yes.
It didn't follow the regulations.
I agree with
that. And I
that.
didn't even want to get to that point.
I agree with that 100%.
But I just want to make sure that, like, if something like that happens, who do we talk to? I'm looking for the lines of demarcation of what's happening, and that's the problem, because there's no communication. We have part-time staff.
But there is communication, Glenn. There really is. I mean, anytime that, if I have a question out there, whether it's on the wetlands or a health issue, I have, you know, I have their cell phone numbers. I have their email addresses. I can get in touch with them pretty much anytime I need to. And if I had a question on something that was happening out there, and you know, and vice versa, they can certainly call me.
I'm not saying that
So,
it's not making the loop.
Right.
It's not making the loop that I feel this board feels comfortable with, and everybody in this building feels comfortable with. So that's what we're basically here for tonight, to make sure that we have something in place that we understand who's responsible for what.
Right.
And that would only help the town and the contractor, because now they understand who they need to go to and who's responsible for what. But they didn't even understand that, that the Board of Health was responsible for dust. Now they do. They're in compliance. They understand who they need to do. Great. It's just, I want to connect that loop so the abutters and everybody in this building can sleep at night, feel comfortable about it, that everything's being done properly, and we never have to address another thing and never get another phone call.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be beautiful. But we're here, right, to take those phone calls because that's our job. I take it personally myself, and I know these two gentlemen have spent endless hours trying to educate themselves on this so we can make this site better and only make future sites better. I mean, without a doubt. So if...
I certainly agree with the
So
concept.
if nothing else we got out of tonight, that we have a better understanding of whose responsibility is it on site, and if we can back those up, maybe, and have the contractors understand. Meridian, do you feel that you can do, I mean, I know you've stepped up a little bit, a lot, you know, and understand the complexity of what's going on, so you've stood up and with the planning board and now doing those daily reports. Do you see with your experience, you have a meeting upstairs, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I think, no, I would agree that you went there, but if nothing else, I think that this board, if any time you have some type of conditions or any type of things, we would ask you to do that in writing to them. So we have a clear thing. And then this 24-hour thing and stuff like that, that's what, and we would just...
We have a ton of emails that we send back and forth already.
Yeah, but I mean...
You know, you're absolutely correct, and we will put...
I wanted it, I wanted it in writing.
Everything we'll put in writing, what we
Yep.
want to have done, and if they don't...
And that would help them, help us, so there's no gray area.
Great idea.
And then we'll get back to you
It
that.
doesn't have to be 10 pages, just two
No.
sentences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see how, no, Jay, you go. You go. I don't mean to boss you around, but I meant to talk to you. Now, do you see how you can help in any aspect to the town? I'm being very simplistic.
Yeah, no.
Do you understand where we're at?
One thing, yes, I do completely.
Thank you.
One thing that Meridian never received, and I'm not saying that perhaps the planning board didn't receive any complaints. None of the complaints trickled down to us. So maybe this is, as if you've got this 24-hour hotline, which is being distributed to the Board of Health and the Commission, the building inspector, that it go to us as well. And so, I mean, I think we try to communicate amongst each other as best we can. But if we all know that there's been a complaint made, then we'll know amongst ourselves, you know, how best to deal with it.
I personally believe, and I'm going to speak for myself, that this is not the abutters mad because something's being built there. This is, I look at them as the abutters as resources to make sure that it goes as smoothly as possible within reason. You know what I mean? We can't ask the contractor to do something that's totally off the wall. You know what I mean? Just, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just to try to make somebody complacent on something.
I think it's a good point. I mean,
you understand what I mean?
Yeah. So if there's a problem, you got to point to OSHA and say, well, you can't do that because there's a problem with OSHA or with the dust.
I look at it more as a resource,
yes.
And to filter out more of the complaints and just venting, and we're here to listen to that, and if we can help, then to the serious type of complaints that we can take care of and try to make sure that everything runs smooth. So the contractor is smooth, get them built, get them sold, and all the abutters, you know, can be as happy as possible during this, you know, this is a big time in everybody's life, in West Newbury and the surrounding neighborhood, and we need to make sure we understand that. Okay. Jameis?
I'm Jameis Driscoll, 260 Main Street. We talked about communication earlier, and one of the things that we would certainly appreciate, I would appreciate, is a better understanding of roles, responsibilities, which it sounds like something that you're actively working on, and also a bit of what is going to be different in the future, because, you know, I came here unclear as to who's responsible for what, and it sounds like in listening to the various boards that there have been repetitive issues. Each board has dealt with its own issue. And I think it's all well and good that each board has an issue, but in aggregate, they seem to represent repetitive issues. So, as you think about communication and what's going to get better moving forward, I personally would welcome an understanding about how oversight and governance is going to get a little bit tighter, and how I, as an abutter, if I see something I think is out of keeping with the plans, how does that get resolved?
Mr. McGrath, you had your hand up?
I've heard prior to tonight, but I also heard here tonight, the notion that this is a construction site. And it is a site upon which construction is happening. But it's important for all of the overseers of this site to recognize that it's activities permitted by a very special permit, which permit has an incredible amount of detail. And I'm presuming that recognize that this is construction type activity in a residential neighborhood. So the minute anybody buys into the notion that this is just an ordinary construction site, does not appreciate the context, because this activity is not allowed by right on this land. It comes under the authority of the special permit. And you can see the engineers, the design engineers thinking when he put so many caveats and details onto the construction plans. And to a great extent, those have not been complied with. So the attitude by each person that has to deal with this site needs to see it as a special activity going on in a residential neighborhood.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions? No. I think do you feel like we have our marching orders that we can summarize this and have Chris send out everything to all the boards and committees of exactly what we expect?
Yep.
Okay. Make a motion to accept the minutes of March 30th.
Second.
Thank you.
As amended. Second.
As amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of March 6th as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Make a motion to approve the invoice warrants.
You can do payroll too.
Yeah, and payroll.
Second.
My son's did you get your questions answered? Mike's not going to be here, but those, you got the email, right, on the library stuff?
Oh, yes.
I spoke with him last Thursday about that because he wasn't going to be here, but I wanted to make sure that you guys have an understanding of it.
Yep, I'm good.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion of the ACO contract. Lisa going to be here for that, or are you going to discuss it with us?
I can discuss it. I mean, the major issue is the inclusion, or the proposed inclusion, of Amesbury and Salisbury as a district. The contract is pretty basic.
But I thought Lisa was going to talk to them, come back with some recommendations.
She had some concerns about it, and so
We're not going to move forward. I mean,
I'd wait until I hear from her because she had the ones who had
yeah, that's
concerns.
what I thought. It was off. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was new information.
So Newburyport, you think Newburyport's going ahead with this?
They're proposing it, and again, the question then becomes is the adequacy of coverage when you expand, basically double the size of the district.
Well, that's what I thought.
And,
yeah.
And but the response and
You awake? See his face.
is that the response is they add staff so that they would have.
Yeah, but we're not. So why don't we wait? Can you ask Lisa to give us a recommendation? Or she said she was going to talk to them and work out some details.
Yeah.
She had reservations about it too.
She didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable with.
Right.
Which
And
is
what are the reservations?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yes.
Ask her what her reservations are, ask if those reservations can be met.
I
And
think she should come in.
yeah, she should come in and talk about it. Because this is actually, for something that seems a little bit small, it's actually been running very well in the sense that we haven't been getting phone calls and
Right.
it's a big deal only when you don't have it. You know what I mean?
Just so that everybody knows, so what's going on now?
Right now is that we have just the intermunicipal agreement.
With Newbury.
Well,
with Newbury
right,
Port.
but the person, that person isn't leaving, right? The new person that they just got.
Newburyport is asking us if we would like to join with them because they want to bring in Amesbury and Salisbury
Right.
into our agreement.
But that hasn't been, the other problem with that is that I don't believe that's been finalized over there either.
No, I'm not,
I mean,
I'm not
no,
saying
it
it has.
hasn't.
I'm not saying it has. I'm saying they're asking us
Right.
what we think or whatever, and we should say, okay, Lisa, for us to be able to agree to this, these are the provisions that you want. These are your reservations. These are, and how are you going to?
Because they're saying they're going to add staff. So
Yeah, but
what's-
we want to
Yeah.
see that.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think she was.
I will say is that the negative has been the turnover in staff that they've had.
Right.
Once they've gone on board, they've actually done a nice job.
Right.
The present guy who's the third one we've had now within 2 years. But he also seems pretty good, and he's been very
Receptive.
responsive and
I have to say that
proactive.
it's working.
Oh,
Right.
so this isn't response to inklings that he wants to leave. That was my point.
No.
No, yeah, he's not leaving. They just want to add more
He's
people.
they want to add more.
Okay.
Glenn, I just, one suggestion, you
On?
talked about kind of a 24-hour hotline.
Can you you want to have that discussion now?
Sure.
Yeah.
We are at the end. Okay. I was going to have that at the end, so we can discuss this as selectmen.
The thing is that nowadays everyone has one of these.
Yep.
And we could talk to our IT guy tomorrow.
Yep.
And say, could we put together a kind of a group text so that people, if they have a problem, they could just text this one number / and then it will go to everyone. Everyone will see it. And then
I would rather not to do that. I would rather maybe go to us three, and then we'll decide who we take it to.
Well, do you want a text or an actual phone
a
call?
text.
I don't know.
The reason I say text, everyone has a text. If someone wants it to be anonymous, then it could be anonymous. They can just block their number, and you just get a text from whatever. But then everyone, and it could be actually also information disseminated between the group, so that if something happens, something happens to Paul, he can just write a quick text, and all of a sudden, instantly, Jay, the planning board, Glenn, you, fire chief, boom, they know. And if they need more questions, then obviously think. But the idea would be is that, I mean, everyone has technology right now, and you can do it. You can set it up in such a way is that one text, boom, to everybody.
I would think that if people from town want to come and dial,
Please.
if they want to complain, I think it would be better for them to make a call to the town office.
But
Board
what
of
if you're out?
Selectmen, if you want me to.
But what if you're out?
But that's the thing. What's gonna be the number, and how is it gonna be 24 hours? That's
can't.
really hard to do.
What happens if somebody does something on Tuesday and there's on a Friday at 2 o'clock, leaves a message on your phone, and then there's a Monday holiday, and then you come in at 1 o'clock on Tuesday because you took a half a day. So it's not even read until Tuesday afternoon, and somebody did that on Friday afternoon.
But you would have our own phones getting texts over the weekend?
Not yours.
Not mine, okay. I just thought that
No.
the in people, like all the people who are you three and Michael and the
See, I don't
Jay
want
and them.
I don't want it to turn into be your way, Michael. I like that, but we maybe have to refine that. I don't want every single person texting that line, and then it becomes that to whomever, it becomes a little diluted. You know what I mean? It's just saturated, then all of a sudden it's not as serious. You get 1,000 different. The wind's blowing today. Is somebody?
That's a very good. I didn't think of that.
You know what I mean? How many
I've already
emails
got 10 of these today.
Yeah. You know, is the wind blowing? Are you guys going to check this off today? So I understand. So we have to maybe think about it a little bit more.
I'm just saying is that way you could have instant communication. We can
Well, you would need it on the weekend because what happens if something?
If everyone has it on their phone.
Because 24/7.
It has to be what?
So basically, as soon as someone sends a text message, you get a message. An idea of a text message is the idea it's not going to be a 10-page email. It's going to be a message of like.
Or could you please call me? I have a situation on what's the.
Well, maybe we should talk to what's the Apple network guy.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
That's what I said.
Because but I have, like, for my work, if somebody calls my work number 24/7, either I answer it or it goes to a voicemail, and the voicemail sends an email to me. So if it's not answered during the day, it could send an email to whoever's designated. So can he do that for us?
Not on our present system, I don't think.
Probably not.
No,
I know.
A new system, they can do exactly that.
Yeah,
we don't need a new system.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We do need a new system, actually, aside from this.
Okay, let's think about this.
I'm just saying is that
Well, ask him.
if you don't want to use that as the
Ask him how that works.
Ask him what the options
Mike,
are.
do you have to create a new number or?
No, what it would be is you just simply have a kind of a group text, so that when you send it to this group, when you send you have.
So it would be like it would be.
You send boom, and you send it. It goes out to.
No, I understand.
Yeah, but how do you generate the?
Who's the number that?
Yeah, how do you generate that group text?
It's basically you don't have to have a separate number. Everyone.
I know,
I
but
understand, but what starts it?
I'm in a butter.
Yeah.
Who do I call? That's the question.
That's the thing. Like, what starts that thing to go? So you call my cell phone number, and then
That's what would have to. That's what would have to.
And then it would go out to everybody, or do we set up a new number? This is.
No. You say I get the call. I then send the text to the general.
You can do it that way. Oh, that's what I talked to Jake about.
Talk to him about that and figure out about that.
Okay.
But still somehow have to disseminate the info that this is the number who we call.
Yeah.
How does that get disseminated? That's hard.
Well, we give it to all the abutters or whomever.
You put it out. You will put it out there.
Yeah.
You know.
We should ask the technology guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or an email. If it's easier to, everybody can email. So if it might be easier to go on Joe's thing, it might be everybody to email.
But email gets lost in the shuffle.
Our system doesn't accommodate it, okay?
I know.
But is there something through the phone company
100 emails a
outside
day.
of our system? They can call this number, it rings wherever, and if it doesn't get answered, then emails go out.
But he's saying that it won't work.
I'm saying outside of our system, though.
Oh, absolutely.
There's another hosting. There must be a hosting site.
Right.
Like an old like a beeper or something like that.
Ask the technology guy.
This is what my son does. And
okay. Well, figure it out for us, but not
your son.
Okay. So the
doesn't
other things I'd like to talk about that discussion is that I always like to follow up after a meeting and thank everybody, and then say, okay, this was discussed at the meeting.
Right. Here's what we agreed to.
These are this is our understanding of your roles and responsibilities. And if you have any questions, or you need help accomplishing these roles and responsibilities, the Selectmen's office is here. Something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And we'll write it up, and then we'll approve it.
Yep.
Before it goes out. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea.
Because this meeting would be nothing unless we send it back up. Right?
Yep.
Okay, anything other on the future agenda? And gentlemen, Chris has given me a blank piece of paper for our posted meeting that's going to be on for the town meeting. Is there anything that we need to have on this?
No, I mean, the only open.
Discuss town meeting warrant articles?
Okay, put that on the discuss town meeting warrant articles. Discuss,
Right before the meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
discuss town meeting
So we
warrant
can
articles.
discuss it if we need to.
If we need to. I'm not saying what we're going to. This is all just, hopefully we don't have to do anything other than, you know, make sure there's a quorum. Anything else?
Yes. So the pre-Whittier discussion that we were talking
No,
about.
but I meant anything else on this one?
Oh, no, I thought your future agenda. No, nothing else.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Carol McLeod can't make any of the meetings?
Yeah, but, I mean, we were really looking for the selectmen from Merrimack
Yep.
and Groveland. We haven't heard back from anybody, have we? Besides her.
Just a couple people. The superintendent, Denise in Groveland,
What did the superintendent say?
he said that he could do one of the dates, and I don't remember
Groveland
which
is
one.
going to be completely
They've got
turned
new,
over, so.
Well, not, yeah,
Who wants this? Joe Demore and,
Yeah, two of them are,
And
So who
they'll
else?
have new people.
I think there's only going to be one,
There's
Bill,
three.
Bill Dunn will still be there. Yeah.
two of the selectmen in Merrimack said they could come, but they each want the other date. One wants the 5th, and one wants the 6th. And Carol McLeod can't.
Okay,
come
so
at
why don't
all.
we,
So we haven't heard from Groveland, Selectmen.
Yeah, Denise.
selectmen.
Selectmen.
okay, why don't we
no.
have, why don't Chris, you and Joe work this out and do the best you can?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay? As soon as you can. If those two dates don't work, put it on the next one. Just keep on working on it.
We'll do it this week.
Okay.
Could you keep me in the loop on that?
Sure.
Yes, ma'am.
And that?
What else? Okay, do you have any questions on the Whetstone Street? I hope that was productive. Do you believe that it was?
I think it was.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I hope. I guess whatever is in the pudding, whatever it is, but hope it is. It is. I hope it is because it's a lot to do, and it makes me nervous that now he's a year and a half ahead of schedule. So a lot, which is his own words, there's a lot going to be done there in a short period of time, and it's a very small site.
It's a small site, but it's the biggest earth-moving project in the history of the town.
Yep.
It's way bigger than,
You know what?
what's that?
I was neglect, and we have a soil removal bylaw.
Right.
Right.
They can't take anything off the site without the Board of
Yeah,
Selectmen's permission.
that actually, I would like to have in writing, Chris, and work with Mike. I don't know why he left. But if you could send Cottage Advisories a letter reminding them or telling them.
Just take that paragraph.
Yeah,
and-
of our soil removal bylaw. And if Mike wants to call me, have him call me. But basically, we're going to just take that paragraph, like Archie said, and send it to him. That was something that we would like to make sure, too, that, see, now, somebody would not know that. How is somebody to know that?
They wouldn't. It's in our bylaw. Who reads our bylaws?
Exactly. So that was going to be a learning thing for me tonight of saying, like, hey, we might need a package. So when somebody comes, the planning board needs to know about all the different bylaws that
idea.
somebody's going to need to know.
Oh, I'm sure that they do know that, yeah.
Yeah, but are they telling them? It's not
I don't
under their
know. I don't
purview.
know, yeah.
So
Oh.
if you could ask Mike, are there any other bylaws that we might not know of? The example would be this soil removal bylaw that would be helpful when an applicant goes to the planning board, that they, a little package, hey, these are the purview of the planning board, but this might help you, this little package. These are the other bylaws that might fall under your jurisdiction. I mean, not jurisdiction, but might fall under your whatever when you're doing some construction in West Newbury. That only helps.
Like the scenic roads bylaw, for example.
It's an excellent.
That's the planning board, but yeah.
That's
Right, but they might not know, I can't cut that tree down.
That's an excellent example.
And when the other, what is it, Ocean Meadow, we sent them a letter saying that they only could take so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
But somebody was on the board. Somebody was on the board at that time that was very particular about bylaws and understood them and knew there was a soil removal bylaw.
Really?
Really?
Mr. McGrath.
No. Okay.
Yeah. And he, you know what I mean? I never knew it existed unless you read the bylaws. And my head hasn't been really hurting that much that I really want to sit down and read every single one of them. I guess I should. But you understand the premise behind me that, you know, that it could help? That's what I wanted to make tonight. All right. Anything else?
Yes.
Oh, there was something I wanted to talk about in the correspondence. This letter from Thomas E. Neby about Sullivan's Court. Yep. He sent us on behalf of the water, I submit a definitive plan, off-site work. This work shall be performed at no cost to the town. I realize the street opening permit was needed from the DPW, which is not, it's from the Selectmen for this work at the time. Since the work proposed with the town right away, I'm seeking approval of this to advance to apply for the DPW permit. Let me know when your board might be available for whatever. So we're going to have him come in on the 4th.
Yep.
I thought it would be a good idea to step ahead
Is there
of
any?
this.
Are there any other besides Gary and the planning board and Jay? Is there anybody else that would? I mean, I think you hit it, but
I don't know. You have that? That's what I'm looking for.
yeah.
That's the letter? No, I don't know. You might ask Mike again. He would know better than I.
Say that again, Joe, what?
Are there
Anybody
any
else
other-
that need to be informed? You have Gary.
Gary Planning and Jay Smith.
And I asked Chris to have the abutters come.
Right, that's who it was too.
Yep. So I think it's important to get them part of the process right away. All right?
Yep.
I was only thinking, what about the fire department in terms of this road is going to be longer than,
Well, that's all approved by
Yeah.
the planning board. We only have purview over the right-of-way and the...
Well, over Sullivan's Court.
Yep.
So what about the width of that?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know what the width is. It's not that wide.
I don't know. So, do you have that understanding? What his question, what Archie's question was? He's concerned of, well, just ask Mike who else should be on there. I think that would be the best one.
If
right?
anybody.
Yeah, I will.
Okay, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Don't forget to sign the warrants to...